Imagine paying double rent just because you dared to live with your partner. Imagine your landlord lurking in the basement, listening for your every move, threatening to call the cops if you even visit the person you love. Sounds insane, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. But here's the best part. She thought she was untouchable until the day her entire empire came crashing down. If you've ever had a landlord abuse their power or treat you like dirt, smash that like button, because today's story is pure justice served cold. Subscribe if you love hearing about people who finally get what they deserve. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. When I was 21, I thought I'd finally caught a break. Rent was sky high, but I found what seemed like a decent place, a shared house in Canada with a handful of other tenants. At first, it didn't look too bad. The walls were a little dingy, the basement smelled faintly of mildew, but hey, renting is never glamorous, right? That optimism lasted maybe a week. Because our landlord? She wasn't just strict. She was manipulative, greedy, and downright predatory. One of the tenants, a sweet girl who had just moved to Canada, was renting a room with no windows. Illegal. Dangerous. But she didn't know the laws, and our landlord took full advantage of her ignorance. And for couples? Oh, she had a special trick. She'd charge double rent, literally twice as much, just because you dared to share a room with someone you loved. That included me and my partner. At first, we swallowed it. It's only temporary, we told ourselves. 2 months, then we'll move out. But the moment she found out we were planning to leave, something inside her snapped. She turned into a full-blown tyrant. If there was a single dirty dish in the sink, she'd storm through the house, slamming cupboard doors, muttering curses under her breath. Every time a door opened, she'd come downstairs, glaring at us like we were criminals. It got to the point where I couldn't even relax in my own home. Every creak of the stairs made my chest tighten. Every shadow in the hallway felt like her, lurking, watching. Then summer came, and I moved back in with my parents temporarily. I thought distance would calm things down. Instead, it made her worse. She told my partner, point blank, if he ever comes back here, I'll call the cops and have him dragged out. Dragged out. Like I was some intruder in a place I was paying rent for. And then the basement. She started sitting down there for hours at a time. No phone. No book. Just waiting. Watching. Making sure none of us dared to step out of line. It was like living under surveillance in our own home. There's a certain kind of anger that builds slowly. At first, it's frustration. Then it's dread. Then it's hopelessness. But eventually it sharpens. Crystallizes. I remember lying awake one night, heart racing, thinking, this isn't just unfair. This is illegal. And that's when it clicked. She thought we were just dumb kids. That we didn't know our rights. That we'd put up with her abuse until we moved out quietly. But she underestimated us. First, I started researching. Hours of scrolling through tenant rights websites, legal forums, anything I could get my hands on. And the more I read, the angrier I got. She wasn't just breaking one law. She was breaking several. Renting out a windowless room? Illegal. Charging couples double? Illegal. Harassing tenants and threatening to call the cops without cause? Illegal. Every page I bookmarked felt like a weapon. I reached out to my fellow tenants. Turns out, they were just as sick of her as I was. One had recordings of her screaming over dishes. Another had photos of the basement setup, showing just how unsafe it was. Piece by piece, we built a case. And then we made our move. First up, the Landlord-Tenant Board. We filed a formal complaint, armed with evidence. But we didn't stop there. We tipped off the city's bylaw enforcement about the illegal windowless room. We contacted a housing rights group who were more than happy to shine a light on predatory landlords. And here's the kicker, we all timed it. Every complaint, every report, every email hit her within the same week. She went from smugly patrolling the basement to being bombarded by inspectors, phone calls, and official letters. I'll never forget the look on her face when a bylaw officer showed up, clipboard in hand, demanding to see the property. That confident sneer she always had? Gone. Replaced by panic. The girl in the windowless room? relocated. My partner and I refunded for the overcharged rent, and her rental empire effectively shut down. For months, she thought she had total control. She thought she could intimidate us, silence us, exploit us. But in the end, the law was louder than her threats. And walking away from that house, knowing she was the one being watched, investigated, and punished, that was the sweetest freedom I've ever felt. You know, sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't yelling back or stooping to their level. It's hitting where it actually hurts, exposing them for who they really are. People like her thrive on fear and silence. And the moment you take that away, they crumble. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the worst landlord horror story you've ever heard? And don't forget to subscribe, because there are plenty more revenge stories where this came from. Until next time, stay sharp and never let anyone walk all over you.